Picture walking into a crowded coffee shop. You're not looking for anyone in particular. You're just scrolling through your phone, completely absorbed in a low-priority task. Then you glance up. You make eye contact with someone across the room, and your body stops dead in your tracks. Your posture locks up, and you freeze mid-motion, random, uninteresting object nearby, like the menu board or a coffee cup. To an outside observer, the translation seems obvious. We read that sudden silence, the averted eyes, and the rigid posture as clear signals of aloofness or rejection. But that exact sequence of awkward stillness and avoidance might actually represent the human brain's most intense, primal biological signal of absolute fascination. To understand this reaction, we have to look at the mechanics of the brain. The brain operates with a primary directive: to constantly gather and decode information from your surroundings. This cognitive resource pool illustrates how your brain allocates attention. When your brain detects a high-value piece of sensory information, like a highly attractive person, it triggers an internal alarm. This is attentional capture, a state where a massive influx of new sensory data abruptly pulls resources away from all your background tasks. The constraint here is biological bandwidth. Any physical action you take, whether it's shifting your weight or offering a polite nod, requires cognitive energy. Diverting that energy introduces a risk of distraction right when your brain needs to process highly critical clues. To solve this, the brain initiates a compulsive shutdown of the motor system. It cuts the power to your physical movements. By silencing the internal noise of your own body, the brain funnels all its resources into processing that sensory data with maximum efficiency. This physical lockup involves no emotional choice. It is an automatic survival reflex executed purely to gather environmental data. The initial physical freeze represents the body's ultimate, involuntary command to dedicate all available power to understanding someone. This sensory-based lock extends to various non-romantic situations whenever the brain encounters highly intense information. Think about watching an incredibly complex dance routine. You often sit perfectly still, your eyes unblinking. Your brain demands complete physical stillness simply to process those rapid, high-density visual patterns without distraction. The same rule applies to aversive inputs. If you encounter a sudden threat or a terrible smell, you instinctively lock up. The brain forces a freeze to prevent an instinctual reflex of disgust, giving itself time to assess the situation. Whether the input is beautiful, complex, or potentially harmful, the biological rule remains identical. Absolute physical stillness buys the brain vital milliseconds to process critical data before you can react. If the primal brain forces a freeze specifically to gather visual details about this person, the immediate urge to look away seems like a mistake. Why does it happen? This cognitive sensory cascade maps how biological reflexes interact with learned behavior. A split second after your primal brain initiates that involuntary sensory lock, your socialized mind recognizes the situation and activates a second layer, social constraints. This creates an immediate internal clash. Your primal brain has a powerful compulsion to keep looking, but years of social conditioning have taught you that staring is rude or aggressive. The social rules step in to block that data collection path. Rather than breaking the initial freeze, the conscious mind hijacks that existing physical stillness. It uses the lockup to ensure behavioral perfection, forcing you to appear polite and avoid a social misstep. This outcome is called the zero signal strategy. It describes a state where your brain is overwhelmed by sensory input, but your body is desperately attempting to project absolute normalcy. This strategy creates specific physical symptoms. Your posture becomes increasingly stiff. You purposefully avoid eye contact, and you artificially glue your focus onto a nearby mundane object. You are experiencing internal neurological chaos while maintaining a carefully constructed external facade of absolute neutrality. Intense, overwhelming internal fascination creates an external social barrier that mirrors complete disinterest. The next time you catch someone's eye and they suddenly stiffen up and look away, take a moment to consider what that reaction truly represents. That apparent lack of focus is a deeply rooted reflex. It is evidence that the brain has been profoundly captivated by critical input. The signal of silence marks the quiet aftermath of a brain temporarily stopping the entire world just to figure you out.